Good morning. Okay, this show is personal, but it's also I hope it's going to be educational for all of you. It is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that's great, and it's fine. But here's the problem. Millions of women all over our country are getting very confused. And I know just from listening to my viewers who have messaged me when they try to get a mammogram or whatever's going on, they're confused because we've got all different people weighing in. And at the end of the day, guess who's in control? You know who's in control. The insurance companies, the health insurance companies. So here's something I want this. Look, I spent all day yesterday on the telephone with various insurance companies. Okay? I called everybody. And I called some hospitals too. And I can't get a straight answer. Even as somebody who is saying, hey, I might want to purchase your product. And I couldn't get a straight answer. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. This show is based on people who have sent me their stories, their personal stories. People who I have experienced stories with. And my own personal experiences. So, we're going to talk about boobies today. Yes, all us women have them. But you men, hey, you guys, don't turn my show off. Do you love a woman? Do you have a sister, a wife, your mama? Believe me, when I start talking about your mama, you're going to be interested. So you guys, don't turn this show off. Because you're going to want to listen. You're going to want to listen to what I found out when I started researching this. So look, let me start out by informing all of you about something called the Affordable Care Act for Women, which is still in effect. It is the law. The Affordable Care Act for Women mandates, you know what a mandate is? It means you have to, that all insurance companies will provide at no cost out of pocket, no copay, no cost out of pocket to a woman, an annual, every year, preventive screenings, pap smear, pelvic exam, mammogram, and by the way, an annual physical, which means you get your cholesterol, your blood checked. If you want it, you don't pay for it. That is part of your insurance premium. So if your insurance company, women out there, or any man out there, by the way, too, if they try to charge you any kind of a copay, and you're going for your annual screening, preventative care, to get your annual blood pressure, heart, you know, the breathe in my stethoscope, we're going to do a prostate exam, all of that is covered at no cost to you other than your insurance premium. And if anyone tries to charge you an office visit copay or tries to tell you, no, you're not eligible for it, no. The Affordable Care Act mandates that men and women can have an annual physical. Women may have an annual mammogram if that's what they choose to do. No matter what the recommendations are, they can have an annual mammogram. And I have had this said to me, by the way, by representatives from all of the Blue Cross Blue Shield people who were trying to sell me insurance. Yes, ma'am, you may have an annual mammogram, no matter how old you are or whatever. Now, we're going to get to that because either they lied to me or they lied to some of my viewers. Because I have viewers right now who have been told that they can only have a mammogram every 5 years. Now, I spoke with a beautiful young man, and I promised I wouldn't use his name, but at the American Cancer Society, and he said, ma'am, nobody has ever said that a mammogram is only needed every 5 years. Yet I have a viewer who told me that she has been told by Blue Cross Blue Shield, the PPO Platinum plan, that because she is 50, they will only pay for a mammogram every 5 years, and they cited the American Cancer Society as saying that that is per them. Ma'am, the American Cancer Society says you only need a mammogram every 5 years. Well, I just talked to the American Cancer Society, and they said absolutely not. If you have been lucky enough to be healthy and your mammograms are clear, every 2 years. 2 years. Now, this viewer who sent me in her story, she has not had a mammogram since 2013 because every time she calls to get approved to see if her insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, will pay for her mammogram, they keep giving her excuses why she can't. Let me get my glasses. So in 2013, she had a mammogram, and it was normal. And in 2013, she was 46 years old. Now, in 2014, remember, in 2014, the American Care Act for Women was passed, which means every year a woman can get, if she has health insurance, can get a mammogram every year if she chooses to do so. Well, in 2014, when she was 47 years old, these people told her, well, no, you can only get a mammogram every 2 to 3 years. So in 2016, she called and said, look, it's been like 3 years since I've had a mammogram. I need a mammogram. And they said, no, ma'am. See, it's every 5 years now because you're going to turn 50 in 2017. This was in 2016 when she called. She was 49 years old. They said, no, the American Cancer Society and the American Medical Association says every 5 years. So you can't get another mammogram with us until 2018. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? This is not cervical cancer, people. Cervical cancer is slow growing. You can go 5 years with a bad pap smear. This is breast cancer. And look, I did do the research. I called 5 different Blue Cross Blue Shield. I called the people my viewer has. And they said to me that no, every year or every 2 years we'll pay for a mammogram. So what I did tell my viewer, and what I'm telling her now if she's watching the show, and I hope she is you need to fight this. You need to fight it. They are messing with you. Nowhere in the AMA, and I actually read an article by Journal of American Medical Association. I read an article that said that even women 50, 54, every 2 years. And I agree with that, by the way. I think that the more you're poked and prodded, the more you get false positives. I've always agreed with that because I've been the victim of false positive test results. And they're not fun. And they do cost money. And insurance companies, and I get it, they're tired of paying for biopsies that are unnecessary because people are getting poked and prodded too often. But to tell a woman when the Affordable Care Act for Women says all insurance companies must pay for a mammogram every year if the woman wants it. And this insurance company is telling this woman, nope, we're only going to pay every 5 years. Which, by the way, the guy at the American Cancer Society said, my God, if you can prove somebody is saying that to somebody, you let us know who it is. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, be careful. Because you did say it. And believe me, I know the viewer who put this brought this story to me. She ain't a liar. They told her this. Now she's going to go back and fight with them. And we're going to see what happens. And I will let you know what happens. But this is something else. And I'm going to tell you another story about a mammogram story. Since it's breast cancer awareness. My mother-in-law, in 2014. Now, The Affordable Care Act for Women was passed in August of 2014. I know this because my very last birth control shot was free. First ever birth control shot I didn't have to pay for out of pocket with insurance that I was paying $500 a month for because of the Affordable Care Act for Women. So my mother-in-law also was insured, and she went to a hospital, but see, they didn't know that the Affordable Care Act for Women included mammograms. And where she went to get her mammogram, they didn't bother to tell her. So my father-in-law, as he always does, he said, well, look, we're not going to meet our deductible. We're going to pay out of pocket for this mammogram, but since we're paying out of pocket, can we negotiate down? They charged my mother-in-law $300 for a mammogram after the Affordable Care Act for Women was passed. And technically, their insurance company was liable for the mammogram. So we're having dinner with my mother and father-in-law, and she tells me she paid $250 for her mammogram. I'm like, wait. When? I'm like, no. See, the Affordable Care Act for Women, you shouldn't have paid anything. They're like, what? And I'm going to tell you what happened. They went back to the hospital that did her imaging for her breast, her mammogram. And they said, wait a minute, the Affordable Care Act for Women. And they're like, oh, crap. Yeah, here's your money back. They gave them their money back. See, this is the problem. Everybody is so worried about money. They try to tell you, we care about your titties. We care about your boobs, ladies. We want you to get them x-rayed. But the people who do the x-rays, they care about their bottom line. The insurance companies don't want to pay. And doctors are telling women, you got to go every year. My OBGYN wants me to go every year for a mammogram, which personally I refuse to do. But again, if the American Cancer Society says every 2 years, which, by the way, I agree with, and then insurance companies take it a little forward and go, well, no, every 5 years, which is nobody agrees with, everybody's confused. Look, I get that breast cancer, according to some statistics, is curable if it's found early. Ask Olivia Newton-John. She's going through breast cancer the second time around, which is kind of funny because that's one of her songs. Strange Twist of Fate. If you saw the movie Her, yeah, it was good. So basically, to me, cancer is cancer. And nobody gets out of cancer alive. You either die from it the first time, or you live with it for the rest of whatever life you have left, and then it comes back and it kills you the second time around. So I'm not a big fan of all these preventative tests. I'm not. I'm being very honest here. But for my viewers who do care, who would like to get their cancer caught early and do minimal treatment, even if it means losing their hair or whatever they have to do to be alive, to see their children grow up or their grandchildren grow up, they should have that right. And the Affordable Care Act for Women was supposed to give them that right. But there's so much confusion. Even me, not giving a shit personally, because again, I do what I do. I make my own decisions. Doctors don't force me to do crap. And I'm going to talk about that in a future show. Because I wonder now if women are still being blackmailed with their birth control when the American Cancer Society says women should not be given pap smears every year. Yet I was forced to get a pap smear every year, or I was told I wasn't going to get my birth control prescription. I'd like to know how that works out now. But anyway, that doesn't affect me anymore. This show is for my viewers who are coming to me and saying, I'm confused. I don't get it. You know, one person is saying, my doctor wants me to have a mammogram every year. My insurance company says, the American Cancer Society says every 2 years. That's all we're going to pay for. I'm confused. Here's what the American Cancer Society actually says, and this is a quote. If a woman chooses to have an annual mammogram, that is her right. But whenever you put choice into anything, the insurance companies go, well, if you're choosing, then it's elective, which means we don't have to pay for it. And remember my mother-in-law. Remember the fact that they knew the Affordable Care Act for women made them unable to charge her for a mammogram, and they charged her for it anyway. They assumed she didn't know about the Affordable Care Act for women, and she didn't. When I told her about it, and she went back to that hospital that did her mammogram and said, now wait a minute, they're like, ooh, oh, we're so sorry. Here's your money back. So the bottom line for this show is it's up to you. They're your breasts. They're yours. They belong to you. I strongly advocate doing your breast exams. You do them once a month on the date of your birth. If your birthday is on the 14th like mine is, every month on the 14th, check out your boobies. Have your husband do it. It's a lot more fun when the husband does it. Any changes in your breasts, anything, you can do it yourself at home. But if you want a mammogram, then you talk to your doctor. And if your doctor believes that is one of those doctors that says you need a mammogram every year, screw what the American Cancer Society says. The Affordable Care Act for Women, which is one of the only good things Obama ever did as far as healthcare goes, says your insurance company must pay for it. 100%. No deductible, no copay, no nothing. It's your right. You have to fight for it in some cases, apparently with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And believe me, I'm going to hashtag Blue Cross Blue Shield on this show. We'll see if any of their representatives come back and want to talk to me. And again, full disclosure, I called 4 different Blue Cross Blue Shields, and I asked specifically, I pretended like I was going to be buying a policy, do you cover annual mammograms for women over 50? I said, I'm 52 years old. My doctor wants me to have an annual mammogram. Will you cover that? Yes, ma'am. The Affordable Care Act for Women says we have to. And yet one of my viewers has been told for 5 years she wasn't allowed to have a mammogram covered under Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I believe her. I believe her because she doesn't want to die. She has a child. She wants a mammogram. She doesn't want to pay $600 for a mammogram when she's paying money for health insurance that's supposed to cover her mammogram. So I believe somebody in her insurance network told her, we only cover mammograms for women over 50 every 5 years. But what has happened now is this woman has not had a mammogram for 5 years. My OBGYN would lose his mind if I went 5 years. Just saying. There's a disconnect between the doctors, the health insurance companies, and then the people like the American Cancer Society and the American Medical Association who make these recommendations. And I will tell you this, the second they tell an insurance company that a woman only needs a mammogram every 2 years, the insurance company is going to jump on it. Only needs a pap smear every 3 years, the insurance is going to jump on it because it saves them money. And I'm going to leave you with a quote from the wonderful young man I spoke with at the American Cancer Society. And you all need to remember this when you fight for your legal rights to have testing preventive testing that you want and your doctor says you should have. This guy said insurance companies make money by providing less service. In fact, health insurance is the only company that actually makes money when nobody uses the product they're paying for. And I always say this, imagine buying a television set, okay? Imagine buying a television set, but you can only use it in one room of your house. That's the only place it'll turn on. Now think about what I just said. Or imagine buying a television set, but you can only drive 30 minutes away to use it. And I'm talking about hospitals now that are 30 minutes away because the local hospital, the insurance company no longer accepts that insurance. So you got to go 30 minutes for an ER visit. Imagine buying a TV that you can only use after you buy $7,500 worth of accessories for it. Deductible. Would you buy that television? Fuck no. Of course you wouldn't. Imagine if you can't take your TV from one house to another house out of the state because it won't turn on in a different state. That's what health insurance is today, my friends. It's basically a product that you can only use in certain places at certain times, and God help you if you need it when you're somewhere else. Anybody think that's cool? Would anybody buy the 70-inch flat screen TV you can only use in one room, in one state? Take it out of state, doesn't turn on? Really? Would you use a product, a TV that only works after you buy accessories that go up to $7,500 more than what the TV cost? Because that's what insurance is. You pay your premiums, but then they say, oh, by the way, we won't really help you out until you spend $7,500 for a deductible out of pocket. Got to meet that deductible. It is the only business that sells a product that they pray you will never use. And when you do use it, guess what they do? They kick you to the curb. They tell you you're no longer welcome to purchase their product. Wow. So think about what I said. I'm anxious to see some talk about this. But again, every woman out there, every man who loves a woman out there, and you men too, remember, you're covered. Men out there, you are allowed under the Affordable Care Act. You are getting an annual physical with your cholesterol, your prostate exam. That should all be covered under every insurance policy you buy. It's the law as of right now. It is the law because Trump hasn't been able to change it, just like he hasn't been able to do anything. So right now, if any doctor tries to charge you an office visit or a copay or anything for a preventive screening annual exam, you say Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, fuck you. I ain't paying you shit. Because that is my right now as an American citizen. Whether you agree with Obama or not, it's the one thing that he did that everybody's trying to get around and screw people out of. But it is still the law. So if any of you out there paying insurance premiums are going to your doctor for an annual exam, a preventative care, it should be at no cost to you if you have health insurance. No copay, nothing. Remember that. Just say Affordable Care Act. And if they try to charge you, fight them on it. Because there aren't enough bells and whistles going off, so I'm going to send off the bells and whistles. I am the bells and whistles. My mother-in-law was screwed by the hospital because they knew damn well right they shouldn't have charged her for her mammogram, but they did anyway. She went back. She said, wait a minute. They gave her money back. Yes, ma'am, you're absolutely right. We should never have charged you for that mammogram. The other viewer, I told her to call her insurance company tomorrow. Today, actually. And tell them I do get a mammogram. And you will be paying for it. It's called the Affordable Care Act for Women. It was passed in 2014. It has not been repealed. So I'm going to get my mammogram and you're going to pay for it. I want all of you women to do that. To be your own advocate. Your insurance company does not give a shit. They want you to be stupid. They don't want you to know the law. But the law says you're covered. Even when the insurance company wants you to be out there freezing in the cold and dropping dead. And I'm going to talk tomorrow. I wanted to talk about this more, but the show's going long. People who are older, one thing that shocked me was that if you are over a certain age, even the American Cancer Society says if you've only got maybe 10 years to live, you don't need a mammogram anymore. We're going to talk about that on the next show. Love shows and grows. Be your own advocate. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If you need a mammogram and your insurance company is refusing to pay for it, American Affordable Care Act for Women. That's all you got to say. And if they still refuse, then you report them. Or you message me, and I'll report them for you. Stay healthy, my friends. Stay healthy with what you want. You are your own best advocate. And you got to fight in this country for what you want. To stay healthy. Political Paula, out.